Hello and welcome to another Game Nexus arcade video. Today we're going to be taking another look at Soul Calibur 3 Arcade Edition. So let's get right into this. And I'm going to actually be doing some gameplay as Seung Mina this time around. And we're just going to play the standard mode. And now, as opposed to the last time you saw me play this game back in December of 2013, this is actually going to be captured as opposed to the direct off of the camera play. And I always like this outfit for Seung Mina because I think she looks the best in the like darker outfit. It's just the one that I personally choose.
Gruesome quest to search for the ultimate sword.
I will never lose.
And as I'd mentioned in my last video, I still find it really weird that in this game, Amy hardly says anything except for like screams, and like after a while, like when you hear her like making all these like unpleasant sounds at you, you hear yourself, I kind of feel bad about this. It's like you're torturing like some defenseless person or something. Especially when they make her like the first level, because you know in any fighting game, the first level is always the easiest.
Not bad, if I do say so myself.
And one thing you should be able to tell compared to my previous video is that I probably poured over it in my last video a lot, but this game just ends up looking really great, especially any of the stages that have like the special effects in them, like the Inferno stage and everything that you'll see later. But everything is rendered great in 3D and it just looks wonderful. There's so many things going on at once.
Not bad, if I do say so myself.
And you'll see even like those meteors that are, or cannonballs, wherever they are falling. It just looks really cool.
What awaits him in the end is a test of his true strength.
Let's see what you've got.
Let's have a good match.
And now I'll definitely go ahead and say the, if you've never played Soul Calibur 3, Seung Mina's move style is a bit tweaked as compared to the previous games. Like, instead of just pressing the A and B buttons to do the twirl of the naginata there, you have to press both buttons and push backwards, because I think by default she does that like pokey thing where she's poking at the person if you just press A and B buttons. Or if you want to be technical, a lot of people tend to call it vertical and horizontal in this game.
No problem.
And then in these fighting games, I always like this like kind of floating platform level where you're literally floating around the background and all this stuff is going on in the background. You see like these ancient Egyptian ruins and everything. And now one thing I will address right away here is that since making my last video, when I actually had made the footage that you're seeing right now, I actually had played one time as Shanhua and then the second time as Seung Mina. And I had previously seen some of my footage from the other video, and I was thinking to myself,
pause until the day he completes his great quest.
And I was thinking to myself, since I had gotten to Inferno less than 5 minutes in my Shanhua playthrough, that I had made it so I could get the basically get the Night Terror boss, but I actually had gotten there in like 5 minutes or less with Shanhua, and I didn't get Night Terror, I still got Abyss, so something tells me it's not only your time to get to Night Terror, you just also have to play really well, because if I recall correctly, I was under 5 minutes through Inferno, and in fact when I got to the final boss, who happened to be the Abyss for that playthrough, I had I was like 6 minutes and 13 seconds total. So it definitely has to do something with the actual like, maybe it's like how offensive you are or how like much damage you take. That's my only other thought. But my other times, like the more than 8 minutes will get you the Legends character. I believe that still holds true at this point.
You win.
And one thing that I definitely noticed in this game when playing it is when you see like Rock there, the texturing on his like legs is definitely really nice looking compared to like maybe even the PS2 version. It just has like that definition.
To shadow.
Are you sure you want to do this?
I would even go as far as to say
You'll be dead before you
I'd
know
even
it.
go as far as to say the boards in this level have like that level of detail to them that looks really good that you don't see in a lot of the console games. And now this is one of those levels that's been a staple of the Soul Calibur games since the very beginning. Is the well, I'd even go as to say the Project Soul game since the very beginning is the floating platform level, because the first one, Soul Edge, it was Lee Long stage that you were on the floating platform, and I still remember that. I don't know if any of them fixed it, but for a good while, emulators that would emulate Soul Edge, the water would all be discolored. It'd be like orange or brown or something, and everything would look wrong. It's kind of like when an emulator would run Superman 64. There are so many emulators that run Superman 64 and would make the sky purple, and that's how I instantly knew somebody was running that game on an emulator.
You win.
You won't win if you hesitate.
But I definitely have to say, as I was saying,
You're so weak.
it definitely has to do, something to do with how aggressive or how much damage you take. That's another thing I'm gonna just definitely have to do more research into.
Well, you certainly talk big.
And I probably say this every time he's in a video, but Maxie still looks like Elvis to me. It's like he was probably modeled off of Elvis Presley, but knowing how stuff goes, it probably was nothing to do with Elvis Presley at all. It just happened to be like a coincidental thing. Maybe he was even like after some Japanese comedian or something, or some Japanese actor, and he just happens to look like Elvis Presley. Either that or the Namco Bandai just more or less said, let's make a guy that looks like Elvis Presley.
For these silly games.
Battle 2. Fight.
And that's one thing you'll notice in all these stages, especially in this video since you're going to see it a little bit better, is all of the ground textures are really nice looking. I go back to Virtua Fighter 4 even, when you notice like in the arcade version of Virtua Fighter 4 as compared to the PS2 version, you just had a lot more texture detail, whereas in the PS2 version, everything had just to be downscaled a bit. And especially because I believe Virtua Fighter did support even like the progressive scan on PS2, so that kind of like killed it.
You win.
I shall defeat the evils of the ages.
But at least Soul Calibur 3 on PS2 supports 480p, which sadly doesn't help it all that
The last threads of
much.
sanity unravel in the mind of the man who is no longer human.
All right, that's it. Are you ready?
And one thing I found kind of weird in Soul Calibur 5 is they tried to give like Lizard Man a personality and they called him Aeon, which I thought was a bit strange. But regardless of what version you're playing, Soul Calibur 3 of course is an excellent game. The PS2 version has a lot more options, as I mentioned in my other video, with the creation mode and the I think it was called Tales of Swords or something like that. It was kind of the real-time strategy type mode where you'd have all your guys attacking the fort and everything, and then the one that got through and you would end up getting into one-on-one matches. This was definitely a really cool thing.
This fight anytime soon.
But of course, this version had brought a lot of balancing tweaks, a lot of move fixes, which some people have imported them into the PS2 version, but that was always buggy. Now, until I had actually done that move that you saw a couple seconds ago, I didn't realize that Seung Mina's unblockable in this game was actually cancelable, but apparently it is. And I know when I actually played that and Lizard Man had ringed me out, I was so pissed. If like this was like off camera, you would have heard me like yelling at the game right then, because I really didn't lose. I would have won if Lizard Man hadn't knocked me out of the ring. And that's one thing in a lot of the Soul Calibur games when it comes to Lizard Man. There's always a lot of like retextures for Lizard Man, and it's not just costumes, it's like Lizard Man's skin, which in real life you can't like retexture your skin unless you use like body paint or something. And now Lizard Man's another one of those characters that if you're not careful, he will beat you. Because you notice there, I actually got pretty close.
Victory of Seung Mina.
Whereas when Lizard Man first started out, he was just a blatant copy of Seung Mina with a couple of unique moves in Soul Calibur. Because Sophia came first, and then you had
Once enslaved to the evil
Lizard
blade,
Man added,
he
of
now
course.
seeks to end its cursed existence.
And basically, Lizard Man controlled almost exactly like Sophia, but he just had like a couple of like animalistic moves where he'd go crazy and stab you. And if you're wondering what Siegfried meant there, if you're not up on the story of Soul Calibur, Siegfried was possessed by like the spirit of Soul Edge, and he became the original Nightmare. But at the point of Soul Calibur 3, Siegfried is no longer Nightmare, so that's why he says, "I'm done with nightmares." And I always thought that was something that was funny in Soul Calibur games, where you could, if your enemy fell out of the ring, you could fall with them, and of course there was no penalty.
I'm sorry, but I've no intention of stopping.
Battle 2. Fight.
And I know in some of my videos I mentioned about the English voices. I don't really mind Seung Mina's English voice as much as the other characters. Because like some of the other characters really could grate on me, especially like Shanhua in Soul Calibur 2. I know I probably make that mention every time I'm talking about how bad voice acting can get. But yeah, Seung Mina in Soul Calibur 3 here doesn't sound all that
The
bad.
grueling battle ended with the victory of Seung Mina.
One thing I remember I used to do a lot with Soul Edge was he'd be like, "This victory has ended in the victory of
Versus
you win."
Inferno.
And now if you heard the ding ding there, it was because I had I lost once to Inferno and I lost once to the final boss. So I cut those losses out because it made this already like 18 to 20 minute video like 3 or 4 minutes longer, so I figured cut that out. And now since this is captured footage, you should really be able to see some of this like dynamic lighting that makes everything brighter, as opposed in the previous video where you could see it okay, but it didn't look as good because it was
You win.
filmed from the camera.
No time for these silly
But you'll
games.
see how it's kind of like the light's kind of like pulsing on Seung Mina's skin there. I know I made mention of it last time, but I just love how Inferno looks in this game. Just how he's just basically flames and bones and nothing else. There's no like no real physical form that makes up his character. And the one cool thing is you give your subwoofer first turned up on this level, you can really hear the flames like pulsing in the background.
You win.
Want me to teach you how to use
And then
that
here's
sword?
our final boss for this playthrough.
Versus Night Terror. Destruction incarnate unleashed from its shackles now seeks to destroy.
Don't expect me to go easy on you.
Battle 1.
Now that's one thing I definitely have to say. If they make Soul Calibur 6 at any point, and for all I know you could be watching this like years down the road, and Soul Calibur 6 could be like the game that's already out for PlayStation 4 or Xbox One or whatever's out at the time. But I really wish they'd bring back Night Terror, because honestly he is quite an evil, menacing boss. He's just like this ginormous armored creature.
You win.
And if you wonder the reason why Night Terror didn't fly back up is because he actually got knocked out and ringed out at the same time, so that's why he wouldn't fly back up. But had I just ringed him out without knocking him out, he would have just flown right back up. Speaking of which, there you go. That's exactly what it does. When you ring him out, he just flies right back up because he has those wings. And he's definitely the ultimate boss for Soul Calibur 3. He just has that really evil look. I think, as I had mentioned in another video, he's kind of like a combination of Nightmare and True Ogre, if you took those two characters and you made it into one, that's kind of like what Night Terror is. There are ways of basing him in Soul Calibur 3 on the PS2, but he doesn't appear in the arcade or standard mode or whatever they call it in the console version. And as I mentioned earlier in this video, I think it has something to do with your level of aggression or the damage you take. Because as I had mentioned, I lost once to Inferno and still ended up getting Night Terror here. And I could remember when I had done this playthrough originally, I was thinking to myself, this is going to be so easy. I'm just going to get Night Terror so I can do another video and finally have an arcade video where I show Night Terror in it. But what had happened was the previous day, or it could have been a couple hours before I recorded this footage, I had actually done a playthrough real quick to see how easy it was to get the Night Terror with Seung Mina. And I got to Night Terror no problem, beat him. Of course, it was a really good playthrough, and it was really easy because I wasn't recording it. And then, of course, I did the same thing again, recording it with Seung Mina, and I tried to get Night Terror, but it didn't happen that time. And I was thinking, it's under the 5 minutes. Why didn't it happen? So then I figured I'll just do another playthrough with Seung Mina. And sure enough, as you can see here, I got Night Terror, so that's why I said, at this point, after doing this gameplay, my theory is that Night Terror, you have to not only be fast, but you also have to not take a lot of damage, and it might also have to do with your aggression toward the enemy characters. But it goes without saying, as I've said tons of times before, Soul Calibur 3, especially the arcade edition with all the added moves and rebalancing tweaks, is an excellent game. And I highly recommend this to anybody who has arcade hardware, System 246 or System 256. This has been another Game Nexus arcade video, and I shall see you later. Bye!
The legend will never die.